Clemson's defense lacked the physicality and discipline that you're used to, but the problems are getting fixed, and they're getting fixed right now. Tom Allen's in charge, and he's back to putting Clemson at the right standard. Tackling's a major focus, and players are stepping up. That's all coming up right now on Locked On Clemson.
You are Locked On Clemson, your daily podcast on the Clemson Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Tiger fans? Morgan Thomas here, Clemson fan, Clemson grad, host and producer of Locked On Clemson, part-time host and producer over on 105.5 and 97.5 FM, The Roar. You can listen to me on the Mickey Plyler Show every Thursday morning. Thanks so much for making Locked On Clemson your first listen every day. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. If you're new to the show, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button so you can stay up to date on all of my exclusive Clemson content I put out here on Locked On Clemson every single week, Monday through Friday, one podcast for you. So we'll talk all things Clemson. And right now, with spring practice around, there's a lot of hype and discussion around that for sure, and some of the changes that are coming our way. Don't forget to follow me over on X at the Morgan T Show so you can hang out with me in between shows and we can continue to talk about Clemson. Hey, also, this show is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel, right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. So check out FanDuel, FanDuel.com. On today's show, Clemson's tackling was an embarrassment last season. We're going to get into it and how they're going to fix it. Another star, I mentioned previous show, we talked about Gideon Davidson as a star on the offense. We're going to talk about a star possibly on the defense going into next season. And then finally, a new position, maybe not so new to some of you guys who watch Clemson football every single day and watch replays 5-6 times, but Tom Allen is bringing in a new name for a specific position. And I think there's some game-changing changes for Clemson's defense because of that too. But let's get started with the first thing, and that is Clemson's tackling was an absolute embarrassment in 2024. And Tom Allen, at least he says, that's one of the first things that he is going to fix, and he needs to fix it for sure. I mean, it was absolutely rough. And when I say rough, I mean really rough. If you watched the games in last season, if you had the guts to go out and watch maybe 2 or 3 of the games on replay and watch them 3 or 4 times like I do, well, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. And you know what I know, and is that they missed a ton of tackles. There were a ton of broken plays, ball carriers slipping through Clemson's defense like Clemson was trying to hug somebody, in baby oil or trying to hug a ghost. It was just absolutely terrible. The arm tackling got much worse as it went on, and it really didn't seem to get too much better the entire season. The way it was at the beginning of the season was kind of the way it was at the end of the season. And I'll be honest with you, it's not just my personal opinion about it. I know that you have also seen it yourself, and you probably could blame one player or 2 players. And I know those 1 or 2 players. And well, Barrett Carter is definitely one of them. I think he struggled at times to tackle guys straight up. And that's what kind of injected Sammy Brown into the mix to be able to kind of shore up the middle of the defense, because, you can't just miss arm tackles or arm tackle and miss all the time. You have to be able to stop that. Now, Clemson still struggled in not only stopping the run, but also getting those tackles. Don't take it from me. PFF graded Clemson's tackling a 70.8. I was looking back at the past 10 years of Clemson's tackling. Terrible. 70.8 is absolutely terrible. 59th in the country, a far cry from what we remember from the old days. And I don't want to keep talking about the old days and you know who. I'm not going to say you know whose name this entire show. All right, because I want Clemson and Clemson fans and myself to move on from that. But the truth of the matter is that Clemson needs to move on definitely from Wes Goodwin and what he was able to do on the defensive side of the ball. And I don't think he was terrible, but he wasn't up to the standard that Clemson was used to. And really, as I mentioned to my friends over at the radio, and I think this is the truth, Dabo kind of made his bed with where Clemson ended up. I mean, it was all his decisions to hire the certain staff that he hired, and it didn't take very long for him to fire that staff. So I think a lot of that has to fall on the head man in this case. I mean, he's making the most money. It's his house. We're just driving by on the way to work, as I like to say. But the thing is, he's got to admit that this is kind of what his decisions were. It put them in the situation that they're in. And it wasn't just an occasional problem. It was a week in, week out issue. And it was kind of masked at times because of the challenges and the opponents that he had in the ACC weren't some of the better teams that were out there. We know that. We know that the SEC likes to remind us of that. But again, it still wasn't an occasional problem. It was a week in and week out problem. And I had some games that you may want to remember, or maybe you want to forget. How about Louisville? A game that Clemson definitely needed to win and to be able to have a good November. November 2nd started out a November to remember. Well, it was a disaster November. Isaac Brown, 151-yard performance. Biggest play that he had, a standout 45-yard touchdown run in the third quarter to extend their lead. Fox Sports even mentioned in one of their social media posts that Louisville ran all over Clemson's defense, totaling 210 rushing yards. And with Isaac Brown, we're going to have to face Isaac Brown again eventually in the future. And it's going to be one of those games where you've got to figure out how to stop him. And he's a dynamic running back. Tackling's impact in that game could have been huge. And Tom Allen is here to try to correct that for sure. Clemson could have limited Isaac Brown's breakout plays, and that would have helped keep them under 200 yards rushing, maybe even 150, and possibly even give Clemson a chance to win the game. Now, I'm going to mention another game you're probably going to be frustrated about. We'll go back to the very beginning of the season, the Georgia game. I mean, their freshman, Nate Frazier, broke off a 40-yard run in the fourth quarter, contributing to just an absolute rout of Clemson in their opener. Not something that you want Clemson to have to deal with again in 2025 now that they're playing LSU. We cannot allow this to happen again, and especially against another SEC team. And really, we got an ACC team, we got an SEC team. Let's talk about another SEC team. And that is, actually, I got two more SEC teams on my list. South Carolina. I don't think I have to remember or remind you what South Carolina did in the rushing game. Lenore Sellers, 20-yard touchdown, 3rd and 15, 1 minute, 8 seconds to go, captured the victory over Clemson. ESPN mentioned Sellers' performance, meandering past seemingly a very, very tired Tigers defense. Tired, unmotivated, and undisciplined, running all over them, that's for sure. Finally, the last game of the season, Texas, big play, Jadon Blue, 68-yard run in the second half, setting up for a touchdown and helping Clemson win. David Hood noted that on X that there were a lot of long runs against Clemson this entire season. The defenders targeting the ball rather than the ball carrier, a consistent problem that Clemson had. And I really think it goes back to discipline and the approach that you take as a head coach and as a defensive coordinator to stop, just trying to get those turnover type plays and just make the fundamental tackles that we're used to as Clemson fans. Will Clemson be able to get back to it? But here's the good news. I think the answer is yes. Tom Allen is already making a difference. We're hearing that he's bringing a more aggressive style. He's bringing more fundamentals and a fundamentals first mentality to spring practice. He's drilling in techniques of wrapping up, driving through contact, finishing out plays. And players are saying that the focus in practice has completely changed. Even the offensive side of the ball, guys are feeling it and seeing it. And I'm telling you, tackling is very important. You remember when Clemson started to go on their run and they started talking about it's all about the footwork. Really, tackling starts from footwork, and it really goes back to those fundamentals that we're talking about. Now, let's take a step back. Why does tackling matter so much? Why am I really stumping for this? Because it's not just about brute force just colliding with each other. When you run full speed and you collide at somebody, odds are in football, in this level of football, that kind of tackling doesn't work. You're going to get blown up. You're going to get blown by. They're going to get past you, and it's not going to work. So you have to have skill with the brute force. Studies have shown about tackling not only reducing yards after carry, but improving their efficiency on defense and improving injuries on defense. The better you tackle, by the way, the less injuries you have. So the best tacklers don't just hit hard. They use leverage. They use angles. they use momentum, and they bring the ball carrier down efficiently and consistently. This is what college teams at the elite level are doing. This is what NFL teams at the elite level are doing, and they're using mechanics and biometrics to get there. And I think that Clemson has all the tools that they need, and now they have the head man in the defensive coordinator position to get them back on track. And really, it goes back to what I'm saying at the very beginning. This is kind of something Dabo has to kind of own, and he has to make up for, and he has to correct. And I think he has done that in this offseason, and he did it last offseason as well. Coming up next, Clemson's superstar defensive lineman that you need to know about. He's already turning heads in spring ball, and he's drawing comparisons to one of the best ever to don the jersey. We'll talk about it. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on it than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. I love using FanDuel's live betting feature because it keeps every moment of the game exciting, and I love that the app is easy to use. Even when you win, and when you win, you get paid instantly. So right now, join FanDuel. New customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Clemson's defense and the defensive line has produced some of the best and absolute monsters over the years. You've got guys like Dexter Lawrence, Christian Wilkins, Bryan Bresee, and now we have on the team Peter Woods, but we're also starting to talk about a brand new face to add to the mix, and that is Amare Adams. Could Amare Adams be the next in line? I think so. He will be and should be Clemson's next great defensive tackle at that position. The kid is absolutely legit. You already know, if you follow recruiting, a 5-star prospect, best player in the state, top 100 recruit nationally, already making a huge impact in spring ball. Only reason that I don't like the guy is that he beat my high school in the state championship, so I'm kind of a little bit chapped by that. But I'm telling you, the kid is absolutely legit. We're already hearing about it from spring ball. Dabo Swinney says Amare Adams, get this, reminds him of Bryan Bresee, but more polished coming in. A more polished Bryan Bresee. I'm telling you right now, you remember how much havoc he was able to bring to the line of scrimmage. You remember how he was able to get into the backfield. You remember how dominant he was and just taking up multiple blockers. And a lot of times that's what defensive tackles do. They don't always get in the backfield and get all those sacks, but they can make a huge impact even by taking up and eating up a bunch of blockers. But more polished than Bryan Bresee, that's crazy, because Bryan Bresee started a lot of games when he was a true freshman, and that is very good for the future of Clemson's defensive line. He's compared him to, and his power, to Dexter Lawrence, one of the best players not only in college, but one of the best players in the NFL right now. So we got to break this down a little bit more. Bryan Bresee, he was a freak athlete, but he was very raw when he came in. He relied on pure explosion, and it worked really well for him. Dexter Lawrence, on the other hand, was also a guy who was an athletic freak and started out from the very beginning dominating the trenches with his brute force, an unblockable guy in the run game. We see a lot of that from Peter Woods as well. Amare Adams, we're being told, and I'm trying not to hype this up too much because this is coming from guys who are at the practice facility, who are watching, from the head coach. Now, Dabo Swinney, he can give us some of that coach speak. He can kind of lead us down a rabbit hole. But I'm telling you, Amare Adams, from what we're seeing, from what we're hearing, is he's got a little bit of Lawrence and a little bit of Bresee, and I'm loving it, and I'm sure you should love it as well. Here's what makes him so special, though. Physically, is he built to be an elite defensive tackle? Definitely. 6'4", 285, already strong enough for college. and, just going to build to be even more dominant and more strong, right? His high school numbers, absolutely ridiculous. I found, it's kind of hard sometimes to find the high school numbers, but I found here 250 career tackles, 40 tackles for loss, 14 sacks. He dominated the Navy All-American Bowl, multiple sacks in that game, and he was named the Anthony Munoz Lineman of the Year. He's already turning heads in practice. Linemen who have gone against him, like Ryan Lithicum, are saying that his hands are really heavy for his age. His first step is explosive and will catch you on your heels very quickly. And he plays with a motor that absolutely never stops. So every single play he's in there, he is going full speed. This is the kind of guy, to me, that can make an impact on day one. Now, you have DeMonte Capehart, a guy that's returning that you're going to be excited about. He's probably going to start out most of the snaps for sure. And then you have Peter Woods as well. But where does Amare Adams place in this scenario? I mean, could he be another one of those rotational guys that is already showing out enough to where, is he one of those guys that you can't keep on the bench? You have to keep him on the field. Just like I said yesterday with Gideon Davidson. And I'll be honest with you, all signs are pointing towards yes. And I will say this right now. I think he will be, and he should be playing early and often for Clemson. So not only does the Tigers bring in for 2025 a freshman on the offensive side of the ball that needs to play early and often and can't see the bench very much, but also on the defensive side of the ball, Amare Adams, we're seeing, is extremely disruptive and extremely powerful and able to get to the into the backfield and take up multiple blockers and really kind of punish the offensive line. This is where we're getting back to. You remember those years of iron sharpens iron with Clemson's offensive line and defensive line? I think we are getting back to that. And to me, this shows signs of a team that can get back to the playoffs, that can go all the way to the ACC championship game, all the way to the playoffs, and even go deep into the playoffs. They have a ton of returning guys, and those freshmen and those transfer portal guys are adding to the mix to make this defense as well-rounded as possible. To me, I think this is a defense that can go deep in the playoffs. But you know what? Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm getting overhyped by some of the spring talk from some of these new freshmen. I don't think so. And I think you probably are as well, getting pretty hyped about it. As one guy told me yesterday when I was talking about it on the radio, spot the ball. I mean, we are getting excited for spring ball. And this weekend is pretty cool too, because it's the Elite Retreat Junior Day. They're going to have over 30, I think 30 or over 30 freshmen, or not freshmen, but juniors in there, and some of the current commits that they already have. And they're going to really show out. So we might see, I might be coming in on the show Monday. We might have some commitments. I don't know. We'll see. I don't want to overhype it, but I'm getting excited for some football. That's for sure. All right. So coming up next, I'm going to talk about the new hybrid position that Tom Allen's defense is going to have and how it could be a secret weapon that continues to unlock the full potential. We got new players unlocking the full potential, but maybe this new position could unlock the full potential for Clemson. We're all about the stats because numbers don't lie. And when it comes to the all-new Nissan Armada Pro-4X, the numbers are in an MVP level. With the ability to tow up to 8,500 pounds, it can quite literally carry the whole team plus the gear wherever you need to go. It's powered by a twin-turbo V6 engine, delivering the strength and performance to handle highways, back roads, and everything in between. And with room for up to 8 people, the Armada Pro-4X is built for big crews, big adventures, and even bigger memories. Wherever you're exploring off-road trails or rolling up to the arena, the Armada Pro-4X brings power, versatility, and style wherever you go. Take your adventures to new heights in the all-new Nissan Armada Pro-4X. Learn more at nissanusa.com. Let's talk about this brand new position. Now, I don't know. It seems like kind of a mixture of the old and new, but I kind of like this. You know, for many years, we haven't had like a named position. And Clemson now is getting into the mix of this. And maybe it's just, all smoke and mirrors. I don't know. But, we've seen like the jack position and the dollar position and the money position and the spur position and, the dog position, like the husky position. Tom Allen is bringing this concept to Clemson with the tiger position. Maybe you could have named it something else. I don't know, the rock position, the tiger position, the Howard position, the Ford position. I don't know, the hill position. But I like the tiger position. Yeah, as the more we talk about it, the tiger position looks pretty good for me. But the tiger position is going to be a game changer for Clemson's defense. It's a new hybrid role that Tom Allen is adding in, and the defense is going to be able to perform at a better level because of this. It's going to be able to trick and disguise what they're doing to the offense. Now, this is not something new to Tom Allen and what he does, but it is going to be new to Clemson for sure. And I can't wait to really talk about the tiger position throughout the season. I think it's going to be a huge impact for the Clemson Tigers, but it's not a new concept for Tom Allen. He used it in Indiana. He called it the Husky. Which I like the Husky position. That's kind of cool. And then at Penn State, he used the Lion position. So I like that too. It kind of adds a little bit of flavor from your school to your schemes that you have. Now Clemson has, the great name of the Tiger. So what is this position other than just a cool name that's out on the field? We got the middle linebacker, the Mike. We got the outside linebacker. We got the Sam linebacker, and we got the weak side linebacker, the Will, right? The strong side and the weak side. So now we're going to have the Tiger, and it's a mix of kind of a safety, a nickel corner, and an outside linebacker. So, as I say that, you're kind of thinking, well, didn't Clemson already do that? But yes, Clemson did already kind of do that. They didn't name it that way, but it is designed to counter modern offenses and spread attacks and stop tempo offenses and motion heavy schemes. So you got to have a guy that's versatile, kind of like your Isaiah Simmons type guy that Clemson had in the past. They're going to kind of go back to that. So a mixture of a safety, a nickel corner, and an outside linebacker, somebody that is versatile enough to run with those motions, to get out in the open field against spread attacks, and has the dexterity and the ability to stay up with tempo schemes, and also has a little bit of power to him to be kind of an outside linebacker when you need to, maybe even a guy that can blitz on the outside with a little bit of speed to get on the edge. So very unique, but not unique really to Clemson either, other than just changing the name of it. But I think it's going to be important because it just shows to me why or like what is important to Tom Allen, and what areas Clemson is going to have to be able to attack the offense and be able to get the offense behind the chains for sure. So now we're already hearing a couple of guys that are in the rotation for this. One guy you're probably not surprised by, Khalil Barnes. He's a playmaker. He's a guy that can get turnover-worthy plays. He's an interception machine. He has a nose for the football as well. But I got to be honest with you, 2024 was not a very good season for him. His athleticism is very good, but he also was not very disciplined in 2024. So I'm hoping that Tom Allen can come to the mix and say, hey, we really want you in this Tiger position, Khalil, but you got to be able to stay. You got to be able to stick to what we have called in the plays. You can't go and do your own thing, get out of position, and leave wide open areas of the field because you think the play's going one way or another, or going to a certain player or another. Khalil is great playmaker because of those instincts, but in 2024 we saw more often than not he was kind of caught looking behind and giving up some big plays and even exposing other players on the field as well. The next guy that I found that was listed for possibly fitting into this role is Shelton Lewis, physical cornerback that can cover and can hit. Now this is kind of a little bit news to me because I thought he would stay in the corner position, but possibly somebody who could transition into this role and be a versatile guy. Now, I know when we look at a lot of his film, he is a big hitter for sure. Biggest thing for him, he's got to stay healthy, but he could fit into this role. And then another one that is kind of a brand new face we haven't seen a ton of. We thought we'd see a lot of him on the offensive side of the ball, and that kind of fizzled out pretty quick. But that's my son, Tink Kelly from Daniel High School. Two-way player, elite speed, great ball skills. He's recently switched over to defense, and I wouldn't be surprised if this is a role where he can flourish. We need him to be able to contribute to the team, and I think he can do that. I think he's a guy that you really can't keep him off the field because he is so athletic, but you got to find a place where you can actually use him. In the traditional role of a running back or a wide receiver or even a slot, there's already so many guys that are probably better and more experienced in those positions. So he's not going to work out on offense. They've moved him over to defense. He may not be able to work out as a true corner on the outside edge one-on-one. As you know, Clemson likes to have guys in more on an island, man-to-man coverage. But maybe this could be an area where he matches up very well and he understands motion and tempo because of his offensive mindset that he's had the past couple of years. So why does this all matter if I feel like Clemson's already doing it? But I think the emphasis on it is really important to me. It kind of was the role that was there, but not really a key role for Clemson outside of when Isaiah Simmons was there. But now that it's more of an emphasis for the defense, I think it's going to provide more flexibility. They'll be able to adjust based on the different matchups. They'll be able to bring more pressure on the quarterbacks. I think they're going to be able to dial up more blitzes than they used to. And if used correctly, the idea would be that they'll get more takeaways and more interceptions because of the mismatches and the athleticism of that role. So game-changing plays, pressure on the quarterback, flexibility, those are all things that I think Clemson could use more of for sure going into 2025. Tom Allen has obviously already started tweaking the scheme and bringing these players in. He's getting their buy-in. I think this is exactly what Clemson needs to get back to playing elite defense. So if you look at kind of where we're at with the defense, you got to be very excited. One thing that I did see that I was excited yet disappointed is that Tom Allen came out and he told the media that he not only looked at previous game film, but he looked at previous practice film. And one of the things that he didn't like was some of the motivation and some of the effort that was getting put forth in practice. To me, that is a huge kind of like, just a disappointing concern for me. It was a concern for me as a fan, but now hearing a guy on the outside looking in saying the effort wasn't there, that is just absolutely disappointing. And I feel like a little bit let down. I feel a little bit let down from Wes Goodwin, even though expectations weren't super high because of his background, but I was a little bit let down from that. I felt like Nick Eason should have been one of the guys and Mike Reed and the other guys should have been picking up some of the slack there. But I felt a little bit let down from the fact that there was a lack of effort in practice, according to Tom Allen. And I feel a little bit let down from Dabo Swinney in that sense as well. He's the head man. He's the coach. He made this bed. He made those hires. And, it kind of disappointed me a little. But we can put aside 2022, 2023, 2024, and we can move on to 2025 with a new defensive coordinator that is is a head coach in his own right. And he's going to bring that intensity, that fire, that motivation, and that discipline back to the defense. Add in, you've got these brand new guys, these true freshmen that are coming in that are getting a heavy dose of Tom Allen and Ben Boulware, as we mentioned in the previous podcast. This is going to be great for Clemson's defense going forward. I really, really like the future of it. I can't wait for the spring game. I can't wait for 2025. I hope you can't either as well. All right, that's it, everybody. This is the end of the week. It's a Friday show. Thank you so much for tuning in all of February and all of March. I really appreciate it. Got a ton of listeners over on the podcast in the hundreds. I didn't even believe it. I can't believe it. I'm so thankful for everyone that takes the time out to listen to me and let me talk about Clemson. And I'd love to continue talking about it with you as well. Get in the comments, reach out with me over on X at the Morgan T Show. And I'd love to talk more Clemson and go check me out over on the Roar as well when I'm online. So thank you so much for making Locked On Clemson your first listen today. For your second listen, check out Locked On College Basketball Podcast. March is officially here, and so you need to be the most informed college basketball fan throughout the process. Find Locked On College Basketball on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. And as always, Tiger fans, we'll see you at the top of the hill.